Hi, Linda Anderson here from Linda Lou Creates. Thanks so much for joining me. Inspiration can be found anywhere. A lot of times as card makers, we do get onto Pinterest. That's a great place to go. Other places that I have thought of is, don't forget about the actual catalog. The Stampin' Up! Mini catalog is where I'm getting inspiration for this video today. And I am going with the Wonder of the Season Suite. So you will see I'm going to bring this back in different places here within the catalog in which I was inspired to create my cards, adding my own little spin to it. So here are the 3 cards, and let me show you the bundle too. Wishes and Wonder, and then the North Pole Wonder for the dies. Buy the 2 together as a bundle and you save 10% that way. So tell you what, I want to start with this card. This card is actually in the catalog. Let me bring this up for you. And let me grab it. And it's pretty doggone close to that picture there. So I wanted to case that, make it a little bit of my own, which, as you can see, the sentiment is what I changed up. I did not cut out then the piece of gold foil to put over top of that one, but I did make it a little bit my own, like I said, by changing up the sentiment. So let me show you the supplies you're going to need for this card. I am going to change it yet again, so let me add one more little bit of change here to it. So starting out with a piece of thick Whisper White, 8.5, 5.5, scored right down the middle at 4 1/4. Inside I had a scrap piece of this designer series paper. This one is called 'Tis the Season. Now, as you can see on my sample card, I covered the entire front of the card base with that paper. This time I thought I would cut it down and see if I liked it having the white border around it. So that means this is 5 1/4 by 4. All right, some other supplies you're going to need are pieces of scrap Whisper White. I'll show you what that's for. I also cut out a piece of it's called Wonder of the Season Specialty Designer Series paper. Now this paper is pretty cool. What makes it a specialty DSP is the fact that it has red and gold foil highlights within the paper. So it kind of reminds me of a newspaper, the layout of it. So I just cut out one of the rectangles of that. All right, and then here is the layering ovals with my sentiment. And out of that North Pole Wonder, I cut out the deer, die cut that out of gold foil. Now, what I want to share is a little technique that I love to do because I'm not huge into coloring. It's just kind of like not my favorite thing to do. So if wherever I can cheat, I will. So I have shaded spruce and I have the mistletoe stamp ready to go. And what I like to do is also have a blender pen handy. So on a piece of scrap paper, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that mistletoe down. Let me hurry up and cover that up. And now with my blender pen, I'm just going to just kind of smear that ink around. Do you have to work quickly? Sort of. I mean, I couldn't stamp this and then come back, you know, an hour later and this would work. I like to be able to get at it right away while the ink hasn't quite had a chance to settle into the paper just yet. So all I'm doing is coloring over that little bit of ink. And I mean, color, I don't know, I'm just kind of swiping the pen over it. So there really is no rhyme or reason. But as you can see, it has that really cool blended, almost a watercolor effect. So I stamped these 3 times, die cut them out, and that's what I have here. All right, so now we're ready to assemble. So let me just pull some things in here, and I'm gonna lay out my mistletoe. And again, like I said, I was inspired by the the catalog and the layout and the colors. I really, really liked it. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna kind of lay it and then see if, yep, that'll work. I like to just kind of lay things down before actually adhering them down. And sometimes I'll even snap a picture of how I have things laid out with my phone. That way I can always reference back to that of, wait a minute, how did I have that laid out? So it definitely is a helper there. So, all right, let's get this mistletoe down. Here we go. One thing when you case somebody, you copy or get inspired by them, never forget to highlight them. Make sure you give them the credit. I find it a huge compliment that somebody would want to copy something that I did. It's a huge compliment. But then to hear them say, hey, look what I made all myself, you know, it's sort of like, ouch. So be sure and give them the credit for your inspiration. All right, let's go ahead and get some dimensionals on that. So now let me just, now this is it is designer series paper, so it is a little bit thinner. So I'm going to make sure that I have my dimensionals on. I use a lot of dimensionals anyway, but I really want to make sure, like I said, because of this being a paper weight as opposed to the cardstock weight, that I make sure I have enough on there. So, and let me just slip that right on in. Okay, I am going to adhere the deer down, and the sentiment will then go right over top of it. So let me get a little bit of glue on the deer. He just looks so cool. Let me show you something here as soon as I flip it around. All of these highlights and the little bits of embossing within the deer, that's just all comes from using that die. So it's really detailed. That's what's really nice about it. So okay, now I'm going to put my sentiment. So I only need some dimensionals kind of on this half of it. So let me find those again, and well, let's get some dimensionals here. And I always like to put just a little bit of glue where it's going to overlap on my on the rest of any of the paper, any of the images and things that I have down. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. Now, if you find like this doesn't want to stick down for me real good while I'm working on it, I'll just go ahead and put an acrylic block over it, and just to help hold it down. So that's what I can do with it once I get done embellishing. So the embellishments I'm going to use are the wonderful gems. These are also part of that Wonder of the Season suite. So let's get a couple on the oval right here, highlighting that sentiment. And then I'm just going to plop a couple more just here, there, and everywhere. So let's slip that one under there. All right. So card number 1 is done. I'm not sure which one I like better. Let me know. Do you like the one where it's the full front is covered, or do you like it with a little bit of the white showing? So, like I said, all it came down to was the fact that I cut the designer series paper a little bit smaller on that one. Okay, next up, let me show you the next card. And let me show you what inspired me. On this page was this tag that they have on with a gift. Now, I am not a huge tag person, but I like to put tags on my cards. I'll do that instead. So that's what I did here. I created the tag, but ended up putting it on a card. So let me show you all the supplies you're going to need here. Now the card base happens to be cherry cobbler. Again, 8.5 by 5.5. The score and fold is at 4 1/4. And then inside I just stamped one of the sentiments from there and I put in that mistletoe. That white does measure 5 1/4 by 4. As does this piece, again, of the Wonder of the Season, the specialty designer series paper. So you're probably seeing the foil because of all the glare from my light. So let me go ahead and adhere this down. This, I'm not sure if I mentioned, is 5 1/4 by 4. And let's get that adhered down. I'm going to show you all of that here in a second. So this paper, at first I was like, what am I going to do with that? And it's like, we'll chop it up and use it. So yeah. So there that is that. Now, part of this North Pole Wonder die set, there is this die that does create a tag for you. And here it is. I die cut that out of a piece of the 'Tis the Season Specialty Designer Series paper. So that's what I'm going to adhere my deer onto. Now the deer, I stamped in soft suede and did that same technique of then using the blender pen to kind of smear that ink around a little bit. I love that effect. Now let me get to, here is Christmas Wishes. I got that out of a stamp set called Banner Year. I don't happen to have that next to me, so I just cut that down to size then. The greenery comes from that North Pole Wonder die set, and I used Garden Green, Shaded Spruce for the colors of cardstock. And then there is a ribbon combo pack in this suite as well. And I just doubled up a piece of the gold ribbon here and made a bow. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my deer so I can get some of the, let me bring back, make sure you can see the sample. And I'm just going to go ahead and get some of these adhered down. I have a bad habit of getting into the glue with my fingers, so every so often I'm going to need to wipe those off. Now let's go ahead. I have some of these bigger ones. Now I'm going to go ahead and just to make sure that I don't risk getting any of those stems to show on where I don't want them, I'm just going to trim him down once with just one piece of that coming off at the bottom. So this way, perfect. I'll make sure that gets in there. And then again, coming out from the bottom, I'm going to trim the longer one, just one of those off. So let's go ahead and adhere this down. This is the Garden Green piece. And then the Shaded Spruce, the little one. We'll get him in there too. All right, so not sure if all of those got into the glue. So instead, what I can do to make sure and adhere them down is get my dimensionals to help me out on that. So I'm going to put dimensionals down to help adhere these pieces down. And let me just get one of the mini dimensionals on. Make sure his head has, and you know what, let me get one more on there. You can never have too many dimensionals. So here we go. Here is our deer, and I am just going to adhere it straight down to the tag. Okay. And nice. All right, so, and there it is. There's the tag. Now I want the Christmas Wishes to go right across. So let me hold off on doing that until I want to see how my tag is going to look. So I'm going to now adhere this straight down to the card. You can certainly put dimensionals on the back of this, but for some reason I felt like I had enough of it popped up. And of course I'm going to put it at an angle. All right, now for my sentiment, I can sort of eyeball it better this way with it already being on the card. I am going to pop this up. So let me just put 2 dimensionals right. I'm actually going to put them right here across the body of the deer. And down we go. All right. One little thing then I need to add yet is the bow. And I might actually put this on with 2 glue dots because that's kind of thick because I doubled that up, that cording. So here are the glue dots, and I'm actually going to hide that hole that was meant for ribbon as a tag, so I'm just going to hide that. All right, let's get on now back to the wonderful gems and let's get some of those added. So here we go. There's one. Let's find another one over here and one more. Okay, card number 2. Inspired by the tag. And now the last card. Here we go. This one I do like the whole card front being covered with the designer series paper. This paper again is 'Tis the Season. Now you don't always have to just case the cards that are shown in a catalog or on Pinterest that use the actual stamp set and dies that you're working with, because here on this page it's highlighting this Cherish the Season stamp set, and I was inspired by this card, so I just decided to change it up, change up the colors, change up the stamp set that's being used. So here we go. Let me show you what you're going to need to create this card. And my card base is shaded spruce, 8.5 by 5.5. Inside I actually had another piece or a strip left over from cutting my designer series paper, so I put it on the inside. That's 5.25 by 4. Now to cover the card front, you're going to need a piece of your designer series paper, and that is measuring the full front, which is 5.5 by 4.25. Now, if you miss any of these measurements or supplies, don't worry about it. I will have a free printable tutorial just down in the description of this video, so you'll be able to copy that off, print that off, and make up these cards yourself. This one goes really fast, so this is a good one if you need to make multiples of it. All right, so let me just push that down and let me show you the rest of what I have. Now, I changed up the colors. In the picture of the catalog, I think they used soft seafoam. I pulled out Pool Party. I thought it pulled out the blues that are in this shaded spruce. Now, this is 3 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches long. Now, I did the winter snow embossing folder on this. I just thought it added a little something without making it too distracting. So let's just go ahead and adhere this down while we're at it. If I can just get everything out of the way. And there we go. Kind of up towards the top. Again, I cut that deer out. Can you tell I really, really like that? This time it's out of the silver foil. And then I have 2 out of shaded spruce of the greenery here. My sentiment ends up, it is about a 1/2 inch wide, and then it is 4 1/4 long. So it will go from end to end of the card. Now, the inspiration card that I am following used a piece of ribbon under here. I ended up just getting a piece of red foil, and I am going to use that right underneath the sentiment strip. So let me just pop that in there. And this just highlights a little bit, adds a little bit of color and shine right underneath that sentiment like that. All right, but first, before we do that, let's get some of our greenery on there. Now this one, I did end up cutting it down, so to be honest with you, you could probably hit 2 of these, cut 2 of those out. I just ended up cutting a little bit off of that longer piece. So like I said, you could cut 2 of the smaller ones and do just fine with that. So all right, so just a little bit of glue right here. Let me get my greenery in here. Oops. And then what I'm going to do is pop up the sentiment right here. Let me get some dimensionals. Let me use the mini ones again. And I'm going to do it all across here, across this strip. Let's go ahead and make sure that our little greenery is adhered down nicely. And one more. There we go. If you wanted to glue that down completely, feel free. I guess on my sample card, I do have that adhered down nicely. This time I just decided just to have it adhered down to just the red. So, all right, now here comes my sentiment strip, and if you just ever so slightly set it down, you can always pull it back up to get it even across. And then the next thing is the deer. The deer is going to get some dimensionals on the back of him. Okay, and let me just get one more. I like to have the one on his, right here on his head. Okay, almost done with this one. Yeah, this one's a fast one, so I didn't get that paper off. There we go. Okay. And down he goes. All right. Now, all it's going to need now are some gems. Again, I'm pulling out the wonderful gems. And this time, I'm going to use the clear ones. I kind of like that look. Oops, I don't want that one. There we go. There's a little bit of gold glitter in that. And there we go. So look for inspiration anywhere. You can find it in catalog, you can find it on Pinterest. Even if if you search different blogs, you can certainly find inspiration there as well. Case away, but make sure you do give credit to the original card maker. So I am, by sharing the fact that I got it from the catalog, so I am sharing that person's card then with you. So hey guys, thanks so much for joining me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Don't forget about the printable tutorial down in the description below. And I also have a blog, lindaloucreates.com. If you're interested in checking it out, please do so. And I have a newsletter that you could subscribe to as well. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope you get a chance to create today. Bye now.